Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling an absolutely massive challenge in modern software engineering, and that is handling distributed failures. If you've ever wondered how these giant, large-scale systems manage incredibly complex operations without just completely collapsing when a single microservice breaks, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a pretty high-stakes scenario. What happens when an order successfully charges a customer's credit card, but the product itself never actually ships? I mean, it is the ultimate e-commerce nightmare, right? And honestly, it happens way more than you might think when systems just aren't designed to handle failure properly from the get-go.
Think about it. A standard e-commerce flow. Step 1, you create the order. Step 2, reserve the inventory. Step 3, process the payment. And finally, Step 4, arrange the shipping. Now, in a traditional monolithic application, this is honestly beautifully simple. You've got one single database transaction handling the whole shebang. Either everything succeeds together or everything rolls back together. But as we know, in a modern microservices architecture, each of these steps is totally isolated. The order service owns the orders database, the inventory service owns the inventory database, and they absolutely do not share a single transactional boundary.
So imagine how this sequence actually plays out in the real world. The payment is successful, the inventory gets reserved, but then the shipment step literally fails. Bam. Because we don't have that single global database anymore, we're stuck in this terrifying half-work state. The customer is already paid, the stock is locked up in the warehouse, but there is zero delivery happening. And since these are entirely separate databases, you can't just hit a magical undo button with a traditional database rollback. You're just stuck.
But enter the hero of our story, the SAGA pattern. At its core, this is a design pattern for managing a business transaction that spans across multiple services or databases. And it does this using independent local transactions combined with what we call compensations. So instead of trying to create one massive transaction that locks everything up across the entire network, a SAGA basically chops that massive operation into manageable, independent local commits. Each individual service just does its own work and commits it locally to its own specific database.
Which really highlights the core difference here. On one side, you have the traditional transaction. That's your one massive lock, and a global rollback if anything, anywhere goes wrong. But with distributed systems, especially when you're talking to external services like a third-party payment provider, you just can't realistically hold on to those long-running locks. I mean, you can't lock up an external API, right? So on the flip side, we have the SAGA pattern. We're accepting our distributed reality. Local commits happen immediately, and if something happens to fail further down the line, it is handled through compensation.
Let's look at how that compensation actually maps out in practice. Because for every single forward action in a SAGA, there has to be a carefully mapped out undo step, a compensating action. So if we create an order, the compensation is canceling that order. Reserve inventory, release the inventory. If we charge a payment, we've got to refund the payment. If the entire SAGA succeeds, fantastic. But if a step fails at any point, the system literally walks backward, executing the compensations for only the steps that had already succeeded.
Now, I need to pause here because this point is absolutely crucial. Compensation is not a database rollback. I see this misunderstanding all the time when developers first start looking at SAGAs. A technical database rollback literally erases the fact that the transaction ever even started. It's like it never happened. A compensation, though, it does not erase history. When you refund a payment, for example, that is a completely new, distinct business action. And this leads us to something really interesting, the concept of semantic compensation. Because we aren't literally erasing history here, our goal is to execute new operations that bring the whole system back to an acceptable level of business consistency. Just think about what happens when a payment is compensated. The customer is going to receive two notifications, right? One for the original charge and a new one for the refund. The payment provider logs two distinct transactions. The accounting system records both of those events. We're not hiding the failure at all. We are actively, visibly managing it. So how do these completely independent services actually talk to each other to make all of this happen? Let's jump into our next section, how services coordinate, looking specifically at choreography versus orchestration. You can kind of think of choreography like a decentralized dance. Services are just out there reacting to events. The order service publishes an order-created event, the inventory service hears it, wakes up and reserves stock, and so on. They communicate indirectly, which gives us that really nice loose coupling. On the other hand, we have orchestration, and this relies on a central workflow coordinator. It acts essentially like a traffic cop. It sends explicit commands. It tells inventory, hey, reserve stock, waits for the response, and then explicitly tells the payment service, okay, charge the card now. But there is a pretty major risk with the decentralized approach. The real danger of choreography is what a lot of developers call distributed spaghetti. Now, for simple flows, choreography is highly scalable and honestly great. But as your system grows, throwing in payments, fraud detection, discounts, shipping, the flow becomes incredibly difficult to actually trace. The whole business workflow just gets scattered across dozens of disconnected event handlers. It makes it a complete nightmare to debug, especially on a Friday afternoon. And that is exactly why orchestration is often preferred for those really complex workflows. It centralizes the business logic, so you know exactly what is happening at any given millisecond. But regardless of which approach you actually choose, distributed systems are inherently messy. Which brings us to our next section, surviving distributed chaos. To keep your sagas from failing permanently, we need to put some serious safety nets in place. You absolutely cannot just fire off messages into the void and hope for the best. A real production-ready saga requires durable state, so it remembers exactly where it left off if the application randomly crashes. It requires idempotency. It needs retries and timeouts for when remote services just vanish or become unreachable. And it heavily, heavily relies on the transactional outbox pattern. Let's actually break a few of these down. Let's pose a genuinely terrifying question. What if the refund payment compensation itself fails? Think about it. You charge the customer, the shipping failed, you try to compensate by refunding them, and boom, the payment service is suddenly completely unavailable. Do we just throw our hands up and give up? No way. Absolutely not. This is exactly why durable state and retries are completely non-negotiable here. The saga has to remember that it still needs to issue that refund, and it must keep retrying until the system finally reaches a consistent state. You cannot just give up halfway through and undo. But naturally, retrying introduces a brand new problem. Message brokers very often use at least once delivery. Now that guarantees delivery, sure, but it also means you might get duplicate messages. If your payment service receives that charge customer message twice because of a simple network retry and it isn't designed to handle duplicates, congratulations, you just charged your customer twice. Not good. That is why idempotency is critical. The operation has to behave safely even when it's repeated. You use an idempotency key so the payment provider recognizes, oh wait, this is the exact same operation, and it just skips the duplicate charge.
So let's see how this all builds into the transactional outbox pattern. Because what happens if your service updates its local database but then crashes a millisecond before publishing the event to the next service? The whole workflow just freezes forever. Well, the outbox pattern is your bulletproof solution to this. Step 1, you update the local database. Step 2, you store the event in a local outbox table, and you do this during that exact same local database transaction. Step 3, a background process safely publishes the event. If the app crashes, no big deal. The background process just picks it right back up from the outbox when the system restarts. Zero lost events.
Now, because of all this independent, localized processing, sagas fundamentally require you to embrace what we call eventual consistency. While the saga is silently doing its thing, working across multiple boundaries in the background, the system as a whole is temporarily inconsistent. So instead of making the user stare at a spinning loading screen, waiting for some massive global lock to finish, the UI might just say something like order processing, while the saga orchestrates the inventory, the payment, and the shipping behind the scenes. And if something fails during that background process, the user experience just eventually catches up. A few seconds later, the customer might see a message pop up saying, payment failed, order canceled. The UI basically needs to understand that distributed workflows simply take time. Eventually, though, the system does reach a consistent, acceptable business state, whether that's a beautifully shipped order or a cleanly compensated, completely canceled order. Ultimately, it's really vital to shift your perspective on all of this. When you're implementing a saga, the technical question of, which message brokers should I use, Kafka or Service Bus, is actually the easy part. The real challenge is the business question. What does compensation actually mean for this specific operation? I mean, if a package is already delivered to a house, you can't just undo the shipment with code. You have to trigger a completely different business process, like an actual return flow. Sagas are fundamentally a business workflow pattern. They require deep domain knowledge, not just technical plumbing. Which brings us to our final takeaway today. It's a profound summary of everything we've been covering. Transactions protect consistency inside a single boundary. Sagas protect business consistency across distributed boundaries. A SAGA isn't just a fancy distributed database transaction, it's an entire comprehensive strategy for managing failure and protecting your core business logic when things inevitably go wrong. So the next time you are building a feature, ask yourself this: are you just designing for the happy path, or are you actually engineering for the inevitable failure?